really the idea is to have a system in place to make improvements, because sometimes improvements get made, one person asks for something or somebody else asks for something, and you make these improvements and you don't think about how it affects the entire system. So what we're trying to do is give DART kind of a guidelines and a framework for making some improvements that people will actually see benefits from. So it may not go well for every single recommendation, but it certainly means that when people ask us why you're doing this, we can go back and say, we've got these guidelines that we set up, and we've got this data that we got from surveys on the buses, so we have some information behind the decision-making process, so at least we have a basis for a start.
So we did a lot of things when we were looking at the changes. One, we did an origin and destination study that showed us how our buses are being utilized and where they're being less utilized. And so we looked at different ways to say, okay, these resources are either duplicative, the way we have too much in an area, and there's areas where we're not serving, whether it's the I-95 service plaza, and we got a lot of requests about how people want to go from either Wilmington or Newark into that service plaza for a 7 to 3 shift. So we're bringing buses that really are not adding a lot of time to the route to do that. We're looking at markets we're not currently serving, whether it's the northern part of Walnut Street or some other areas that we're looking to say, hey, we can serve these markets better. We're taking buses that normally go from Christiana Mall to our maintenance facility in the Delaware City area going empty and saying, hey, we'll put you in service. It's not cost us anything, and now you have a connection from that area to the mall, and so it's more access to jobs. And then we're trying to add more frequencies to the buses, the 5 and the 6, which are really popular buses. We want to add more frequency of those to help people get around more. And then finally, on Sunday, we're adding a service between Newark and Christiana that, again, expands the ability of people to get around, get to their jobs on Sundays.
But what we like to see is that we know where we want to improve, and we know what improvements need to be made, and what new routes and what routings, and where we might build some improved facilities so that we could have some transfer areas, because Rodney Square is too small for all the buses that come here, and it's really not set up for that. It's a park, and a lot of people say get the buses out of the park, but you got to put them somewhere where it still works. So the idea is to have an idea of where we need to go and a process to go through so the public can be involved at every step, so that it becomes a meaningful series of changes and not just random, we'll do this, we'll try that, and see what happens. We wanted to get riders. DART gave us some of the riders on their community advisory committee that could sit on that. We also talked to downtown stakeholders. When we had changes proposed for Rodney Square before, the people who were the most against or the most for it, we wanted them to come back so we could get all the opinions, because really we know it's a difficult transition, and we don't necessarily want to just pull buses off of Rodney Square. We're just trying to find the best way for the buses to operate downtown. And so we wanted the people who may be the loudest opponents to come and sit with us at the beginning of the process, so either they're convinced or we know we need to go in a different direction for a solution.
So in the past, we would come up with our ideas to make service changes, and we'd bring them to a formal public hearing. A court reporter, people could get up and make their statements. When we left that process, we didn't have a lot of room to say, we're not going to do what we said. So we either had to go back to the old way or do what we were proposing new. This is a way for the public to come out and give us their input on ideas that we're having. So like today, we don't have specific times of days or any of those things. We're just talking about alignments, and we're hearing how it affects people's lives, and it's really a good input. I'm glad we had the turnout we had today, and so we can go back to the drawing board and make adjustments based on some of the concepts we had and how they would negatively impact people, and then hear also what they like about what we're doing, so we have a little bit more affirmation that what we're proposing is what the people want.
What they used to do was just make the changes and say to the people, here it is, take it or leave it. So I think that this is a welcome process. People have the opportunity to speak their voice, and they are listening. So I think that it's very good.